Welcome to the Health Revolution, the show that leads you to a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity through a sea of fads. We reveal the science behind the strategies that truly work. We explore physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery, the keys to an enriched life. See inspiring interviews with the champions who've conquered life's challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest together. If you want to change the game, it all starts now. Welcome, everybody. You are watching the Health Revolution, and we're excited that you're joining us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, and no matter which way you're tuning into us, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button because we want to stay connected to you. Also, at the bottom of your screen, there is a tab for show episode notes. Be mindful of that because there's important information about today's episode. And let's get into it. Today, we're talking about strength training for life. And what does that mean? We're going to dive into strength and conditioning and how it can apply to everyone, regardless of age, regardless of conditions, but how can we customize it and utilize it so we are literally physically becoming our best version of our stronger self. I'm excited to talk with today's guest because we're going to unveil some tactics that maybe you have not come across before, or maybe that you had dismissed that you could do. Let's really unlock all of these properties to become physically stronger and all that implies. First, let's get to know him. Take a look at this. Meet Kosta Telegadas. A global leader in strength and conditioning, Kosta has dedicated his career to training tactical athletes, martial artists, and everyday individuals striving to improve their physical performance. With a bachelor's in kinesiology and a master's in exercise physiology, he combines a decade of experience in collegiate and professional sports with a passion for human performance. As a published author, guest lecturer, and a sought-after speaker, Kosta's mission is to make strength and conditioning accessible for everyone. Through his online coaching and educational materials, he's pushing the boundaries of physical training to help people everywhere achieve their best. Today, we will learn how his expertise can transform the way we think about fitness and performance. Kosta Telegadas, welcome to the show.
Adriana, thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you today, and you've got quite the history in strength and conditioning. I wanted to start off by asking you what inspired you to forge your path on this road and make this your mission to lead others. What got you into strength and conditioning in the first place?
So, Adriana, it starts back when I was in high school. I had a really, really good strength and conditioning coach at the public high school I went to in Richmond, Virginia. The biggest thing that got me going was this coach named Coach Rooney. He was a tough guy from South Boston, just had the harsh accent, and he really just knew how to motivate students to become their best. I had come into the weight room my sophomore year with a lot of nagging injuries from my freshman season because I didn't have a chance to do the strength and conditioning training that he offered that year. So what I did was I did all the squats, the deadlifts, any pressing, pulling, single leg motion, vertical jumps, whatever that may be. And I was able to actually cure the back pain that I had. And from that point on, I was hooked. You see that first bulging muscle, whether it's in the bicep, the thigh, whatever it may be, and you just start getting hooked as a young man. And I went on to be first man off the bench, so sixth man in basketball, and came out of being third string that year. So he was a big motivator in my life, and he wound up getting me to get my grades up, getting me to get my life together, and getting me to pursue a career in strength and conditioning as well.
And the concept behind it, obviously kinesiology and human performance. This is the science behind the human body. What is it that we don't know as the general population that we need to know about our bodies? Because I know that the first thing that some people will come to mind is, well, it's just it's an athletic thing. Athletes do that. I'm not an athlete. What is it that we need to know that we don't know about strength and conditioning?
Well, just like athletes, Adriana, we have a lot of potential. Now, this could be in if you're training to run a marathon, if you're doing jujitsu like I do and getting on the mats, all the way to just everyday life if you want to have a healthy body composition. The biggest things we can take away from strength and conditioning and apply it to everyday life is you're going to strengthen your bones, you're going to get bigger muscles, right? So you're going to prevent osteopenia, you're going to prevent osteoporosis. Those are the two technical terms for those. From certain diseases like cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and you're going to increase your mortality rate as you go through life. So you're going to be able to go through, live a longer, healthier life, and be able to be there for your family, friends, and to get the most out of the life we have on this earth.
Were you conditioned at a younger age by family to be active, or was this something that you just naturally came across on your own?
So I actually didn't come across it on my own. I was fortunate enough to have family who were active at one point, and they had some debilitating injuries, and they started to gain weight. They started to have increased levels of stress in their life. They started to let it affect them at very personal levels. So the second I got in touch with the weight room and got my life together through Coach Rooney, that was probably one of the biggest factors for me actually getting my life together and going through. So and then now, as a strength and conditioning coach, my own family wants to be involved in it more. My mom's working out for the first time ever now. She's just retired. My dad's training consistently 2-3 days a week. Now he's retired. So it really comes down deep into our core and our family values at this point, full circle. They started it. I got it. Now they're going to get it now.
So you did sports as you were just emerging, young adult, all of the things. And what were some things that you didn't realize that strength and conditioning can do for you?
I think the biggest thing is just keep injuries at bay. I've been riddled with injuries in my career, from low back pain, quick spasms on the traps. It can actually help you increase your recovery from injury, which I think is something a lot of people don't know or understand. So if you get hurt and you're not training in the weight room, whether it's with a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach, whoever it may be, you're really limiting your performance, you're limiting your rehab, and you can even cut certain injury recovery times in half. So you can get back to walking the dog, you can get back to picking up your child again, whatever that may be for those specific individuals.
How do you tie in that world? Because there's a little bit, let's be honest, in the health and fitness space, there is this community feel of this is what we're supposed to do. We stay active. It's going to help. We're going to lead healthy lives. The goal is to lead a healthy life. And then you have those who may not be active that just don't see that yet, I'd like to say. So then if someone is struggling because it's not something that they've ingrained in their lifestyle, how do you bridge the gap between the two?
I think the biggest thing is just take them, find out their reason why. I think that's the biggest thing, because if someone was a former athlete and they want to stay athletic, that is going to be what we're going to focus on, right? Maintaining muscle mass, strength, power. But for other people's, it might be deeper than that. Maybe they just had an injury and we're trying to recover from it. Or maybe they went through a nasty divorce and they want to get a better body composition to get back out there in the dating world. There's a multitude of reasons why someone may get in strength and conditioning if they're not in athletics, but those are some of the big ones we can tie it back to. And then not even to mention, as we age, you're going to lose that muscle mass. You're going to lose, for men, testosterone levels. For women, you can help regulate cortisol levels, right? There's a number of hormonal reasons we can get them back in as well. And I think when you go and connect the two dots from non-athlete to athlete, those are things you can use.
So I want to take it back to your collegiate days. So you obviously being an athlete, and then you started to step into just the world beyond college. Did you know that this was a path that you were going to be on? And what was the defining moment that led you to think, you know what, my calling is to be a coach. My calling is to help strengthen other bodies. What was that for you?
So for me, it was actually, you got to hit rock bottom before you get anywhere. I'm a firm believer in that in life. I had gained 30 pounds my sophomore year of college. My life was not doing too well. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I had to actually think back as an undeclared student in a liberal arts college, how I was going to make it in this world. So I wound up thinking back to what made me the most happy and the most fulfilled. And it came back to that high school weight room, getting after it with the guys in the lifting session, all the way to the difference it made in my back pain. So I wound up losing that 30 pounds, got in incredible shape, and actually went off to go compete in Olympic weightlifting tournaments, powerlifting tournaments, and realized, like, man, like I can do this for a living. Whoa, that's actually fantastic. And there's athletes to train. So then I go off, I get some internships in the collegiate world during undergrad. I go off to become a graduate assistant at the University of Miami and get my master's degree from there. And then I go on to actually pursue a field in athletics, working for Exos, love it, and then now have the chance to work with tactical athletes all over the world. So it starts back by hitting rock bottom.
I want to take it back. I want to go to that space, rock bottom, because oftentimes people in society struggle with a challenging moment in life where it's a huge setback. Back problems are something that many people face. How did you know to create the headspace to just keep moving forward to get past it? Sometimes, and the reason why I ask this, sometimes back pain can be debilitating. So take me back to where your headspace was in processing what you were experiencing physically, and then your plan to get through it so you can improve.
Man, so that's a great question. My headspace at the time was very, very dark. You're, not doing too well. Grades are plummeting. Everything in the world just seems to be falling down. But I go through and I say, well, what did I do when I had that back pain? I got up and kept moving. I kept stacking the bricks and built the foundation of my life back up, whether it was losing the weight all the way to, man, I'm going to find purpose and career in this life. Because the last thing I wanted to do was go off and, work a corporate America job like my parents did and feel like I was not in control of certain things and just seeing how miserable certain parts of their lives were. I wanted to be different. And I think that was the big motivator right there. And then once you get to the plan, well, I said, well, what made me happy? It was getting in the weight room, working out, feeling better, feeling those cortisol levels decrease, which for your viewers is the stress hormone, all the way to the serotonin levels increasing, which is your feel-good hormone after you work out. And it started to get me out of depression, got me back up, and kept me moving forward. And as I started to gain momentum, it's like a snowball when you push it downhill. Right? It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you have a massive amount of momentum as you get to the very bottom. And I think that was the game plan. Every step I took, it got better. So why stop?
Were you pretty optimistic? And I'm going to stick on this for a second. Were you pretty optimistic that you were going to improve, or were there certain conditions about your back pain that you had to be careful about? Like, for example, were there any nerve-related conditions with your back? Was there any like bulging disc situation? Did you have any type of a serious injury that left you off your feet for a period of time? How did you process like that physical pain so that you could hang in there long enough to put one foot in front of the other and work on getting physically stronger?
So yeah, no, great question. The biggest thing as far as the diagnosis for me was it was as close to a herniated disc as you could possibly get, is what my physical therapist said. So I wound up saying, okay, well, we got to keep moving forward, keep pushing. So just no real nerve related symptoms at that point. I just got back in the weight room. I started doing a ton of unilateral, which is single arm or single leg exercises for your viewers. So that way you can relax the hip and you're not bothering the back. And it also forces you to move the weight properly and get the proper contraction out of the muscles. And then it also forces you to limit the loading, which would be the weight you use in this case. So those were some parameters I had to follow. And then once my back pain was fully gone, and after the final checkup, I was fully cleared to engage in some barbell work, such as like a barbell back squat or a barbell deadlift or RDL, or even a ton of other factors. Like I could do flexion with my spine. So I could do a sit-up as an example, as opposed to having to be in a plank position for core stability. So those would be some examples of some of the limitations I faced during that time period.
And the amount of time that it took for you to heal, was it as to be expected? Did it take longer? Was it shorter? How quick or how long was that journey?
So the doctors told me initially I was going to be out for about 4.5, 5 months. Within 2.5 months, I was back doing what I loved again, playing basketball. I played 4 and 5 positions for those who know basketball. So I had gotten beaten up down in the paint a couple of times, but I was finally able to get back out there and do that. And the time frame essentially almost cut itself in half, which made me realize, oh, there's a profession that helps people, A, keep injuries at bay, B, get us back in a quicker rate of time, and C, get to improve athletic performance. Yeah, I'm in 100%.
What was the one thing or maybe two things that was very helpful from the doctors that were working with you to help you continue to heal? Maybe a level of encouragement, maybe just their brainstorming tactics to leave no stone unturned with your rehabilitative care. What was helpful that you received from doctors, whether their approach or their tactics, that made the difference for you?
I think the biggest approach for them was having a proper diagnosis and having a competent background. And the second thing for them was constant communication with my coach and physical therapist at that time. So those would be the two biggest things that the doctor really helped influence. He would help give the PT some parameters, and he would help give the coach some parameters that I was working with at the time.
Sometimes there's and the reason why I ask that is there seems to be a little bit of tug of war sometimes in society with our conditions that we're facing, and how accessible doctors are, and then the feedback that they have, or maybe the knowledge that they have access to. Some doctors are more knowledgeable than others, and so I was curious to see, and I'm glad to see that your doctors have been proactive with you, so that it did end up cutting the rehab time down considerably, wouldn't you say?
Yes, 100%. I think the doctors, if they want to truly go learn about what strength and conditioning coaches do, they should seek one out in their local area who has a good reputation and learn and educate, and maybe get rid of some of the myths that they have thought about fitness in their time, because we've exposed a lot of those today, and we found out that doing strength conditioning while you're on your journey of healing through an injury is actually extremely beneficial. So I think shout out to my doctors who did a fantastic job. So that way, it allowed me to help other people and know what that should look like in the future.
One question before we go to break: what is the one myth that you love to debunk about your approach to strength and conditioning, and why it's such an important element to incorporate in our lives?
Oh man, I think if I was to choose one myth, it would be, oh, I'm not an athlete, so I should stop lifting. No, completely farthest from the truth. Because as you get older, your metabolism is going to slow down, your muscle mass is going to weigh, your bone density is going to go away, and the more you don't train, the more you're risking other diseases coming into your life, the more you're risking injury, and the more you're risking a sooner death. And I think at the end of the day, if you just keep training, whether you're 30, 40, 50, 60, even in your 70s or 80s, you're going to find you're going to live a much happier and healthier life going forward.
We got a lot to cover and to debunk and explain in detail, but first we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there.
So in the calm bag, it has GABA, theanine, and taurine. So theanine, which is B1, which is also in our B complex, but it also helps with the stress response levels. It also helps with the neurological transmitters in our brain. Combined with the GABA, and then you add taurine to it. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid in our body, but it's found in our heart, our brain, and our eyes. So in my personal opinion, it's very essential in our lives. But taurine has a calming effect as well. When I was battling all my AFib issues, I was taking high doses of taurine because that would help with my AFib. It would help with the palpitations I was having. And it also helped with the anxiety of having the palpitations because I knew what was going on, and so taurine helps a lot with that as well. So those three together create such a wonderful concoction that just really just calms people down.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
Today we're talking building strength for life. Our guest today, Kosta Telegadas, he's a strength and conditioning specialist, and we're getting into the nuts and bolts of how we can incorporate this regardless of age and who we are and our circumstances. And so before the break, Kosta, I started to ask you about the biggest myth, and what you did say was that, if you're no longer an athlete, there's no need to continue on with strength and conditioning approaches. And I want to, and I love what you said, and I want to flip the script a little bit to the general population. So how do you break down what are the fundamentals of strength and conditioning that are applicable to the general population?
Yeah. So building off of what we said earlier, the biggest one is metabolism. Because I think a lot of people, if they come to me for remote training or if I've worked with them in the past in a gen pop setting, the real big thing is they want to get a better body composition. So they want to lose fat, increase muscle mass. So that is going to be the first area I attack with them if I see that that's one of their goals. So that is something we could do conditioning intervals for. That's something we could do basic strength training for. We don't necessarily have to train max strength, but we could do very basic work in hypertrophy, which is just putting on a little bit of muscle size. The second thing I see is people have some sort of debilitating injury they need to recovery from, whether that's, torn Achilles, bad hip, low back pain like I had, maybe they tore their labrum, whatever it may be. And so we're going to focus on making sure that we address those issues and then build a comprehensive training program around it that'll strengthen up a ton of other general qualities like size, strength, maybe power if it's applicable, and just overall aerobic conditioning. The other thing I think for me is, you get people who are stressed out in the world. Maybe they don't have a lot of time. Maybe they just want to get in. Yeah, we'll take a 30-minute workout, an hour-long workout, and then condense it down to about 30 minutes for them and hit the big nuts and bolts and trim the fat off the program for them. So those are some of the things we like to use for the Gen Pop. And then, of course, I use the other a thing of, hey, you're going to live longer, you're going to have a healthier body, you're going to be able to see your kids have grandkids, even get to the personal reasons why they're doing it.
What are your favorite ways to approach the person married to their job? Maybe their profession is one that they're climbing and climbing the corporate ladder. Maybe they're holding a very significant position with their organization, and there's a lot of responsibilities, deadlines all over the place. Just the amount of time devoted to work is very significant. How do you start to address that with them? Or what do you say to that person who's in that life that's like, I'm just not sure how to get stronger. My job is everything.
Well, just because you're busy doesn't mean we don't have time to do something. So the first method of attack, if I'm going to work with them, would be to break down their schedule every day. What does their schedule look like from 7 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. at night, right? And if we can find 20 minutes, 30 minutes in there, we'll adjust the program around it. This could be something as simple as a high intensity interval training workout for 15 to 20 minutes with some dumbbells or body weight, or something as simple as, hey, we're going to go for a 20, 30 minute zone 2 heart rate run to get their aerobic capacity and aerobic metabolism up. So those would be very small things that we can incorporate in. I'll also see a lot of these big corporations that require a lot out of their executives, as an example, will have a gym inside of their headquarters or building that they operate out of. So it's another thing. And then the last piece is find out what they like to do. If someone had a very bad experience back squatting, or they don't have time to do all the sets and reps, we're going to find a way to still squat, lunge, do something. Maybe even we push a sled, some sort of regression or progression that works for them given their time limitations.
Now, I love the space that you're in because you're, obviously, solid, confident. You've got a clear vision of what strength and conditioning is. I want to flip this. I want to adjust the script a little bit to say women who maybe exhibit a variety of reactions to that. Maybe they want to be stronger, but they're intimidated. Maybe say the woman who is in menopause and she's trying to slow down the rate of decline and all of that. What's your approach to women? What are some ways that you bridge the gap so that they're able to see what you bring to the table?
Adriana, I think the biggest thing I look at is stress levels, right? If they're stressed out and their cortisol's high, that's a quick fix we can do. We can go in, have them do a quick workout at a level that is reasonable for them. Maybe if they can't do a barbell back squat, we can do a dumbbell lunge. Maybe if we can't do a dumbbell lunge, we'll do walking lunges or a split squat with just our body weight and just get them moving, see how they feel. And then by the end of the workout, if they feel good, we break it down for them. Hey, from a scientific perspective, your cortisol levels have decreased. And from a feel good hormones perspective, like your serotonin levels have gone up and they're normally feeling better. Then on top of that, I would explain to them, look, some of the biggest myths I see for women, especially too, is they're scared to put on too much muscle. They're scared to lose their image. And that is completely so far from the truth. It's going to up your metabolism. It's going to increase your confidence. It could even help out with some of the quote unquote curves and getting rid of some love handles, if you will, for certain people that have that as their goal. But you can't really do that without a lot of uptake from their metabolism. And I think the other last thing I see is they just want to say, hey, I don't want to push a ton of weights. Great. We have other variations we could attack the programming with around that. So that would be my response to a lot of women who are either premenopause and getting there or in menopause and trying to slow the rate of decline. We're just going to keep the muscle mass on. We're going to decrease your fat mass. We're going to leave you feeling more confident.
To your point, I will say I do come across that a lot of women saying, or some women that are fearful that they're going to look bulky. And my favorite response is that for women who are exhibiting the strength and the body, the physicality behind, holding their own as they're getting older, are the ones that tend to lift like a guy. And so that's honestly very telling in that it then no longer becomes that stereotypical, it's just a guy's thing, but then the strength and the power can have so many benefits. And so to your point, I wanted to add to that. I'm curious about what your approach is. What's different between tactical athletes and the general population? Can you explain who is the tactical athlete and what are some of the approaches that historically, what have you done to help them crush their goals? And then some of the principles that you've discovered are important or beneficial to the general population that you end up working with.
Yes. So tactical athletes, Adriana, they're pretty much comprised of several different categories. It's a blanket term. So we really look at firefighters, police officers, other first responders, anyone who is in covert action or military for the most part. That is what tactical athletes encompass. Now let's take a policeman as an example. He's on 24/7, 365, and needs to be able to perform at his highest capacity, whether that's chasing down a criminal, remaining calm in a very stressful situation when detaining someone, all the way to, hey, I need to be ready to chase or be ready to go into this building and assist in whatever manner, whether it's picking up someone or rescuing someone from a very bad situation. So those athletes need a certain level of base strength, but what they really need more than anything else that I see is a lot of conditioning work, right? Because when you have that go, go, go mentality, you don't want to just load them up with a bar on their back and going for a 3-rep max back squat. It's going to stress out their CNS a little bit too much and not get them closer to the ability to perform their actual job duties. So specifically with the injuries we see with tactical athletes, you're looking at neck, low back, wrist, ankle, upper back with thoracic issues. And so we need to be very careful with how we program for them. We're going to make sure that we're doing a good amount of single arm, single leg work, good amount of strength work, and a good amount of conditioning work. The greatest thing I tell them is you need to be moderate to good at everything, great at nothing. Because if you're great at one thing, like powerlifting and putting the most weight on a bar, you're probably not going to be able to go out there and chase down a bad guy if you need to. So that would be an example I would use.
So, which begs me to ask this question. Which of those industries that you just mentioned are the ones that you feel have the most urgency to make sure that they're the healthiest that they can be?
Man, it's really not just one in particular. It's really all of them, whether it's police, military, fire. All of them play very key roles, whether it's the military with foreign policy, all the way to police and firefighters who help out with fires that go on, like you see in Los Angeles right now, all the way to policemen who are putting down crime, whether that's in New York, Chicago. It's really, one is not necessarily more important than the other. It's just having their role needed to be executed at a high level every single day.
Sometimes when I think of, like, say, for example, police departments, I just wonder, in terms of stress levels that, you have a period of time of sitting and then a period of time of go, go, go. And so it seems, of course, from someone who has not been in that world, how do you help bridge the gap, or what are some of your favorite approaches to where they can manage stress and continue to build on their bodies so that they're able to that their nervous system is not taking a hit, that they're able to process and just be smooth sailing as can be?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for them not taking a hit on the nervous system is just loading appropriately. Let's use the right percentage of 1-rep max if we have a max for them. Let's load to form and leave 2 to 3 reps left in the tank. For your listeners lifting, that could be like, hey, if we're at a back squat and we have 5 reps, we should have been able to do 8 that set. The other thing is if they have any areas of pain, we need to be smart enough as coaches to work around that with them. And so a lot of unilateral work and a lot of conditioning work for them as a whole, whether that's aerobic, anaerobic, whatever it may be.
Do you think sometimes do you think sometimes there are those in these industries that struggle with sharing all that they're dealing with, like say the injuries, maybe the nagging injuries, because they're supposed to be showing up the way that they're supposed to in their profession? In other words, are you able to pick up where they're struggling in case they've not verbalized that to you?
Well, yes. When we look at them or we do any initial movement screening, or even if we're training with them on the ground floor, right? You're going to be able to see it real quick if you're an experienced strength and conditioning coach. Hey, this individual has ankle mobility that's tight. Maybe he's lacking hip mobility. Maybe there's pain in the low back and we shouldn't do a back squat. Maybe we'll do a front squat instead, or a non-loaded lower body strength exercise. I think the other thing too is it's also cultural for them. Some of them, like if it's in fire or police, they don't want to go to a doctor and say, hey, I have this nagging injury. And so they'll come to the coach or they'll come to the physical therapist. But the biggest thing for them is that can affect their career trajectory too. So you have to be good with your words. And then lastly, you have some level of PTSD in some of these populations, whether it's officer in the SWAT community who responds to high threat situations in the city of Chicago, all the way to a fireman who just saw someone, jump off a building, and it really affected them because they passed away the second they hit the floor. So also using our words and building trust with them is the biggest thing we can do as coaches. So then that way they do open up to us, tell us about what's going on in their lives, everything from divorce to their injury levels. That is what we strive to do as coaches. It's not just the X's and O's on a strength and conditioning program. It's also about the person and building trust and showing competency with these individuals, because they really do deserve the best, in my opinion. They sacrifice themselves for us daily, and we deserve to give them the best.
Do you ever delve into beyond the actual movement, functional movement, or movements in which they need to master and excel at? Do you go beyond that, such as sleep? Do you ever touch on the hydration bit, even nutrition? Credentially speaking, do you delve into that? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I actually break down a period for them, pyramid, excuse me. So we go through and we'll start off at the bottom of the period, and you really need sleep, right? If you don't have sleep, nothing else is going to work. It's like saying, hey, I got this amazing new Lamborghini, but I don't have any gas in it. I already know if I'm looking at your program and you're not sleeping, it's not going to be an effective program, period, dot, just like that Lamborghini without gas. So then secondly, I talk with them about diet. As strength coaches, we can only stay in very general parameters. Like, hey, you should, have a higher protein diet, add more vegetables, get rid of certain saturated fats. Maybe we put down the Coca-Cola, or we put down the cheeseburger from McDonald's and clean up our diet a little bit. Here are some examples of good carbs versus bad carbs, as an example, such as rice going all the way to those French fries, right? So those are two examples. And then lastly, we talk about the specifics of their program and building trust and learn about them in their personal lives. But the biggest thing I would say, if you're looking to get more specifics that coaches cannot talk about, for diet, you would go to your local hospital and set up a meeting with their registered dietitian. Every single hospital has one. And then the next one would be for sleep. You can actually reach out and see if they have any individuals who are sleep specialists in the hospital that help people with chronic insomnia, or talk to a coach who is certified and able to give you some of those methodologies that can set you up for a good night's sleep.
What are your favorite exercises to do?
Man, that's a list. I'll give you my top 5. I still think the squat is the king of all exercises. It doesn't matter what variation, you still should be squatting, whether it's a bodyweight squat, front squat, back squat. I think on top of that, the next thing would be, look, I'm a guy, I love the bench press, right? And it may not be the best in the long run for specific sports or specific tactical people that I work with, but we do some kind of pressing to maintain upper body strength. I love the assault bike. For those of you who have competed in any sort of CrossFit competition, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is one of the best conditioning workouts known to man, but it will get your heart rate up, get your fat and carbohydrate portions of your metabolism up. And then on top of that, after that, I love the sled. I think as I get older, I'm 31 now, and to some people that's young, to some younger people that's old. But I do like to take stress off my low back from time to time, given my injury history. So I love a good sled pull or sled push. A lot of variations you can do with the sled. And then lastly, I'd say the medicine ball, because there's just so many different movements you can do with it. Primarily any kind of med ball slam that brings me back, makes me feel athletic again. It helps me out on the jiu-jitsu mats.
That's fantastic. I don't think there's a bad exercise per se. So we're going to take a quick, we're going to take a break. Stay right there. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you. Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome to Fit Bites. Today, let's talk about colon cancer screening. It's an essential step in protecting your health. Now, colon cancer is one of the most common cancers, but it's also highly preventable and treatable if caught early. Screening typically starts at age 45 or earlier if you have a family history of colon cancer or other risk factors. A colonoscopy is the gold standard for screening, as it can detect precancerous polyps before they develop into cancer. Non-invasive options like stool tests are also available if a colonoscopy isn't right for you. The best part? Early detection saves lives. Colon cancer often develops without symptoms, so regular screening is key, even if you feel fine. Take control of your health by scheduling your screening and talking to your doctor about your risk factors. It's a simple step that could make all the difference in your future. Stay proactive, stay informed, and stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana. Back, everybody. Today we're talking building strength for life. Our guest today, Kosta Telegadas, he is a strength and conditioning specialist, and we are highlighting the different ways which this is applicable no matter where we are in life, no matter how old we are, all of the things. And so before the break, I know we were talking about the different types of exercises that you are fond of. And I just want to get your take on something that I've been coming across lately, and that is the discussion about knees, knee pain that people feel as they're getting older, particularly in women as well, because of the menopausal symptoms that are happening in all of that. So what are some of your favorite approaches to addressing knee pain and then strengthening the body so that pain level is not something that continues? Because I know you work with a variety of different people at different ages. What's your approach to the knee pain?
Yeah, Adriana. So my approach to knee pain is pretty straightforward. Actually, believe it or not, a lot of knee pain does not start at the knee. It actually starts at the ankle or the hip or both, which can cause the knee to have certain levels of compensation. So the biggest place I start is looking at, well, does your knee track accordingly in line with your toe? If it doesn't, then that could be an area we could look at. And then we deep dive in and say, okay, is it due to weakness? Is it due to lack of range of motion and mobility in the hips or the ankles? And then if those are not the issues, we start actually going down the list. Did you have any previous injuries there? Are there any scar tissues, right? And then from there, we dissect any sort of medical report or info that they're willing to give us, and we come up with a plan for them to make sure that we can get them stronger. But a lot of people really don't understand that a lot of knee pain can be prevented not only from the mobility side, but from strength in the hamstrings and the local muscles that surround the knee, such as the quad. Right. So the biggest thing for hamstrings is doing something like a hamstring curl, working on a slow negative, which is just moving the weight down slow after you contract it, could result in their ability to absorb force going up. And that's going to help stabilize the knee because your hamstrings are your decelerators, meaning if you're moving, you're running, you're jumping, you even be sitting all day and you just slip a little bit, your hamstring has to turn on to deaccelerate you. Right. And then for the actual front side of the body, such as your quad, doing some movements such as a leg extension machine, like a quad extension, will actually go forward and strengthen some of the small muscles, the local stabilizers around the kneecap. The biggest one being our vastus medialis oblique. And all that muscles is the small teardrop muscle on the inside portion of your leg. So when that's pretty big, we know your leg's pretty stable and strong. Now, there's plenty of other factors that I think a doctor or a physical therapist could probably give a deeper dive into. But as a strength and conditioning coach, that's primarily what I look at.
So I know that you work with a variety of people. Who are your programs for?
So my programs are for three categories of people. And the first is for anyone who wants to train like an athlete or have some sort of training to make them healthier. But primarily, I do focus on tactical athletes, just fire, police, etc., or I focus with martial artists, fighters, whoever that may be. But everyone is always welcome to come train.
And what do you do? What are some of your onboarding tactics that you do to help reassure those who are maybe they think that this is the path that they're on, but maybe they're a little uneasy. They've never done this before. What are some of your ways that you like to bridge that gap so that they have that reassurance that this is something truly beneficial for them?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing is, get them on a call, get face to face with them. I hate the idea of text or just calling without having some sort of video feed, right? I want to see you. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know you on a personal level. So we start off with a consult. Once we get them on a video call, consult's completely free. It's a free hour-long session. We get to dive into your problems, maybe a certain program you're having right now, all the way to what your goals are and any issues you are facing or obstacles, whether that's time limits, injuries, etc. The next is I show them the app we use, and then they're going to go through on how to use that app if they are interested. And then finally, we set up a training program for them specific to their needs and desires and outcomes they are looking for.
One dimension about you that I just need to highlight, of course, is that you wear the hat of author. And so can you talk to us a little bit about the types of work that you are planning to write, what you've written, the goal, the level of connection that you're trying to have as you're tying everything that you do together?
Yeah, so that is going to be mainly with Brains Magazine. I've written several articles on there that will help people out if they just want some free content to go look at that is geared towards the general public, or a little bit with tactical and jiu-jitsu. The other pieces, I've written very general pieces and assisted and been the subject matter expert for brands such as the Sunday Times in the UK or GQ UK that is based out in London, England. The other pieces that I work on are for coaches. So I will go through, and I'm a co-author of the Human Weapons System with Dr. Chris Myers. This is mainly used to outline strategies, processes on how to build a tactical strength and conditioning program up, what is the best practices we can take and apply any given day. Then I also have my own training manual out that I wrote with Team Builder. That one is very dense, though, so that has a lot of strength and conditioning elements and terminology in it. Treat that as maybe a 400 or 500 level course that you would see in university. But I can hit a lot of different ranges and a lot of different audiences. It's just a matter of, hey, that's all the stuff we wrote in the past. In the future, I'm trying to write some more public pieces that gain more traction and maybe end up in some big magazines like Men's Fitness. And we're currently working on that now.
So one thing I do have to ask, obviously you're younger than me, but what is your take on going through the aging process, and what do you do to maintain the connection for those who are maybe not 30 somethings, 40 somethings, 50 somethings? What is your approach to bridging that gap and having that connection with those who are older, and your approach to ageism?
Well, Adriana, it's fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it. But my injury history, I think, serves as a good example that you can start with. And I think also being overweight when I was younger, in my late teens, early 20s, is another place of reference that we can look at. Also, client testimonials, I think, are a great spot to highlight when you're working with any clients if there's an age gap. So if you had Sally Mae from, let's say she's an exec at JP Morgan, right? And you can highlight her testimonial of working with you, all the way to the people who, are older. I will tell them, hey man, my body's going through changes too. I can't back squat over double body weight like I used to back in the day now. So being relatable on a personal level, but also on a testimonial basis, and then also an experience level, really helps a lot of these clients bridge in and figure out that you are trustworthy, that you can be with these people.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're coming right back. Stay right there. we've been spending time with our guest today, Kosta Telegadas. He's a strength and conditioning specialist. It's all about building strength for life. And Kosta, where can our viewers find you in the virtual space?
Yes, so they can find me on my Instagram. It's at coach_Telegadas on Instagram. And I know that you're going to have that LinkedIn and be able to show them down below. The next way to get in touch with me is at Coach Kosta Telegadas at gmail.com. Those are going to be very easy ways to get in touch with me. I normally respond within 15 to 24 hours, some very small time gaps for them. And then, and that's the best way to get in a hold of me at the current moment.
What do you have going on for 2025? What's your vision and what's happening?
Well, the biggest thing is, luckily for the side work that I'm doing right now, we're able to open up and go online for a ton more clients to come in. So if they actually reach out to me via Instagram and just DM me the phrase "New Year" in all caps, we'll be able to give them half off for our training programs going forward for the new year into 2025. And that's applicable up until June. So we're making that for half the year for them. We really want people to get in and get active. And that's our big plan right there. Secondly, we got a ton more writing coming up, where that looks like and what that looks like, or where that is and what it looks like. Still TBD right now, but we're working through it.
Lots of story developing going on, but exciting things. And Kosta, I'm excited I'm excited for you and for 2025, what it has to bring for you. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Yes, Adriana, thank you so much for having me. This was an absolute blast.
Thank you. And we want to do a shout out to our sponsors for supporting the show: Biomed Mobile IV, Dapper Mobile Apps, Launchpad, and Synergize Fitness. And for our viewers, you can find us on the web. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can subscribe to our newsletter. You can also email us with any show episode ideas you would love for us to cover. Upper corner of your screen, you will find our QR code if that's easier for you to grab. And then, as what you can rely on, we are on E360 each and every single week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is all the time that we have for today. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We will see you soon.